This video is presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Every great team starts with a strong foundation, and your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect what matters most, so you can focus on winning today while planning for tomorrow. Whether you're just starting your journey, building your dynasty, or ready to retire like a champion, Western and Southern has the right play for your life stage. Visit westernsouthern.com to get your free life insurance quote today. Western and Southern, built to win. The granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl between number 1 Indiana and number 9 Alabama. New Year's Day, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. It's going to be an awesome game. I can't wait to watch this, Dalton. I actually went to a few Rose Bowls actually in my life, and it's always just cinematic with the sunset going down in Pasadena, watching a great football game. We should get another great football game in this one between Indiana and Alabama. The Crimson Tide advanced to the quarterfinals after avenging their loss to Oklahoma in the first round, winning by a 34-24 final score. The Hoosiers, meanwhile, of course, skipped the first round of the playoff because they're the best team in the country right now, the only undefeated team left in college football with a perfect 13-0 record on the year. The winner of this game will take on either Texas Tech or Oregon in the semifinals at the Peach Bowl.
How could you not just love the historical backdrop of this game, right? Alabama, arguably the premier college football program of all time. And Indiana, before Curt Cignetti got there, the losingest college football program in FBS history, right? And then you've got Cignetti, the former Alabama assistant, going up against Kalen DeBoer, the former Indiana offensive coordinator.
Oh, true. I didn't think about that.
It just feels so fitting to have these two teams playing each other, right? And Alabama getting their revenge against Oklahoma last Friday night, and just really Ty Simpson looking more confident than he's looked for a lot of the second half of the season, and potentially, maybe, 2 first-round quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. What a duel we've got here, and I think just the history behind the kind of divergent history between these two programs, and the fact that, of course, Cignetti this time around has to go against Alabama, where he used to be as an assistant under Nick Saban. It's just fascinating. And Indiana, look, he's talked about it, and Cignetti's not satisfied till he wins the whole thing. Winning the Big Ten, being undefeated is great, but now is when you start to make it count if you're Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of history in the fact that Kalen DeBoer used to coach at Indiana and Curt Cignetti used to coach at Alabama, but Dalton is actually the first ever matchup between Alabama and Indiana, too.
Love that.
So,
love that.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that
and in the Rose Bowl and everything.
Yeah.
This is just fantastic.
So you have the passing game for Indiana against Alabama. So you have the Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza against what's been one of the elite secondaries in college football.
It sure has. Alabama's 5th in the country in coverage grade overall, and the one part of their defense that has struggled all year, and where Indiana probably has the biggest advantage on this side of the ball, is Alabama struggled to rush the passer. Now, they did get 6 sacks against John Mateer last week, but some of that was Mateer holding the ball too long, and a part of it was the fact that Kane Womack, now the defensive coordinator for Alabama, he's disguising coverages more than ever, right? He's shifting this secondary around. Corners are going back and playing deep halves. Other guys are coming up playing flat. There's a lot of cover, too, and a lot of different looks that he gives you in this Alabama secondary. Why? Because he knows he can't rush the passer, but he needs to find a way to stall quarterbacks from getting to their first read. They're making them work through progressions and things like that. So what we're going to find out, NFL draft scouts, pay attention, is how well against an elite disguising defense that over their last 3 games, they've disguised 78 snaps over the last 3 games in coverage. It's getting more and more as the season's going on because they want to confuse these quarterbacks. Fernando Mendoza's going to have to be able to read the field. He's done that at an elite level against disguised coverages this season. 2nd in the nation in passing grade against disguised coverages. I've watched a lot of football the last 24 hours, but I think Julian Sands, the one guy ahead of him in that category, 10.1 yards per attempt, and that last number down there, 2.52 second average time to throw, 23rd fastest in the country. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of guys that have a faster time to throw, all they're doing is panicking and chucking up go balls. Fernando Mendoza's ability to read the field and read it post-snap is going to be huge. Think about arguably the signature play. Really, it was the signature play for Alabama's defense last week against Oklahoma. The John Mateer pick six. Rolled into a cover two. Zabian Brown rolls down to the flat. Mateer never sees him coming. Gone. Walk in, pick six. Game is tied. Fernando Mendoza's ability to process post-snap is going to be his greatest asset in this game. He's going to have, I will just tell you now, he's going to have time in the pocket to operate. But is he going to be able to see where the safeties are rolling, where the corners are rolling at times? It's going to be this entire defense at times. Keon Sabb, Bray Hubbard, Zabian Brown, they're going to be flying all over the place. And they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it until the ball is snapped. You want to find out if Mendoza's got an NFL mind? You're going to find out this week.
Can you explain to any of the viewers out there, Dalton, like what are disguise coverages in our system?
So in our essentially, it's when pre-snap and post-snap, you're showing a different number of deep safeties. Okay, so let's just say you have one deep safety back there and you're showing me a cover 3, right, where you'd have a free safety and the 2 cornerbacks back deep, playing in deep thirds, right? If post-snap, where a lot of times like Alabama will do this, you roll that safety to a deep half and you roll the corner back to the other deep half. So essentially, a post snap, it's like you have 2 deep safeties back there, right? And then you're in a completely different coverage, essentially, than what the defense showed pre-snap. The idea is that when quarterbacks drop back, the first thing they're looking at is safeties. That's what they want to see as they're taking that 3 or 5 step drop. Where are the safeties? Which way are they rotating? Because there's an old saying, cornerbacks lie. If you look at cornerbacks, no, they're going to lie to you. You have to look at safeties to read the coverage. But the more that teams switch the looks on the back end after the ball is snapped and make the quarterback read it as everything is in motion, it makes it more difficult. And only the special quarterbacks, especially at the college level. There's quarterbacks in the NFL that struggle with this, or it takes years and years to figure these things out. Where you see a lot of times young quarterbacks in the NFL will struggle with this. This is what Kane Womack is doing to opposing quarterbacks. He did it to Mateer last week, and it worked. It forced a huge turnover, and they try to bait you into throwing to where they want you to throw it. Mendoza, yes, he's going to have to read things pre-snap, but a lot of it is going to be in that 2 to 3 seconds that he's dropping back into the pocket. He's got to find the safeties especially and figure out where everybody's going from there.
We'll see if Alabama's pass rush can be as good as it was against Oklahoma, too, because it has struggled at times this year. But if you could speed up Mendoza in that aspect, too, with also the disguise coverages back there, that could be really successful for Womack in that defense. I have Indiana's run game in this one. I'm looking at their downhill run scheme against Alabama's really strong run defense this year. Indiana calls inside zone or duo or man on 63% of their runs on those 2 concepts alone this year. And they've been very successful running those concepts and everything else that they've run in their run game too. Right now, Indiana is 6th in the country in EPA per run. They're 9th in rushing grade, and they're 3rd in run blocking grade. And they rely on a trio of running backs for their run game in Roman Hemby, Kalen Black, and Kobe Martin. Alabama's run defense has been very impressive this year too. Right now, 14th in successful run rate allowed, and they're 16th in successful run rate allowed when it comes to inside zone and duo combined. So I think Alabama's defensive tackles and their linebackers in this game are going to be huge. I'm looking at Tim Keenan, big Tim Keenan in the middle of that defense. I'm looking at Justin Jefferson, Nikhai Hill-Green, Deontay Lawson, all the linebackers for Alabama too. They're going to be big in Indiana's downhill run scheme and determine whether or not Indiana has to really rely on the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza, to completely carry this offense, or will the Hoosiers have enough of a run game to complement Mendoza and those receivers?
I think the linebacker, Justin Jefferson, super important. He played, I would argue, his best game of the season last week against Oklahoma. Deontay Lawson's very consistent. You also have Bray Hubbard, the safety, usually walking down on that weak side as well. A lot of times when teams have had success running on Alabama, they have attacked Jefferson and they've attacked Hubbard, especially on that weak side, as they are so often. If Indiana can do that, I think they can find some success. But Jefferson was really good last week, and Hubbard was holding it down. Curious to see. They don't do it as much. Obviously, Mendoza's generally a pocket quarterback, but occasionally he will keep it on those read option plays just to keep you honest. I wonder if he does 2 or 3 times in this game just to keep those backside guys honest, because Alabama's run defense is really good when they know they can just get to the football without the threat of an option, without the threat of a mobile quarterback. That's usually what gives them problems. When it's straight up and you're talking about a quarterback not being a threat to run, then they're really good. And you mentioned it. Big Tim Keenan inside against Pat Coogan, the center for Indiana. That's going to be a fun battle to watch.
Absolutely. So we go from one run game, Dalton, where it's a really good run game and a really good run defense, to another where it's a great run defense in Indiana, but it's an Alabama run game that has just been non-existent basically all year.
Pretty much, yeah. And this is where Indiana has to feel like they have the biggest advantage in this game. Now, the one The one thing for Indiana's defense is we'll be curious both run and pass games to see the adjustment now without their star defensive end Stephen Daly there. And we'll be curious to see how they can hold down the edges. And I think even more so in this matchup, how that'll affect their pass rush at all. You can get into that side of it. But look, Alabama, we don't really run the football too well. It's kind of been the story. Even the playoff committee mentioned that in some of their voting process going into it. Indiana's run defense has been outstanding for the last 2 years. It's been terrific. Again, this year you've got a great defensive line led by Mikael Kamara at defensive end as well. And the linebackers are just unreal. Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, Elijah Hardy, one of the best groups of linebackers in the country. And even their secondary gets down and helps as well as anybody. Indiana is third in the nation in run defense grade. They're 14th in yards per carry allowed. They are 5th in explosive run rate allowed, and they are 2nd in the nation in tackles for loss in the run game. An elite run defense, I would argue, was the best part of their team last year. I could probably still argue if they didn't have a Heisman winner at quarterback, I could argue their run defense is the best part of their team again this year on a team that's stacked with talent at every spot. But this run defense and the fact that Alabama, it's not like this got fixed against Oklahoma.
No.
They had one big run that accounted for 30 of their 63 rushing yards, but they only ran for 63 yards last week. And on paper, you feel like this is a game that Ty Simpson's going to have to win them again, as he's been doing all year. Because this Indiana run D is a brick wall, and for Alabama, I'm sure it's going to feel like a brick wall.
Yeah, it's going to feel like a brick wall, and so I think Alabama's offense is going to once again come down to Ty Simpson, and what I'm looking at once again is Ty Simpson against the blitz, and really, has Ty Simpson finally turned a corner in terms of how he handles the blitz so far this year? Because Dalton, he has been an absolute roller coaster against the blitz. We actually pointed this out in our film breakdown for the Alabama-Oklahoma game if you want to dive into it a little bit more. But Ty Simpson has been pretty good in some games and very bad in other games against the blitz. In fact, he's had a sub-60 passing grade against the blitz in half of his games this year. But against Oklahoma, 75.6 PFF passing grade against the blitz in the win over the Sooners, and that was after a 46.6 passing grade against the blitz against Oklahoma in the regular season game, which was actually a season low for Ty Simpson too. So he improved dramatically against Oklahoma's blitzes, and Brent Venables blitzed the hell out of him, honestly, in that first round playoff game. And as you saw on the bottom of the screen right there too, Indiana is going to send those extra rushers at Ty Simpson. They blitz 48% of the time. That's the 13th highest rate in the country. And Dalton, just like Alabama, Indiana does an outstanding job at disguising their coverages too, so it's going to be difficult for Ty Simpson with those blitzes coming at him to read post-snap and figure out where to go with the football. So I'm looking at, hey, Ty, you were so good against the blitz. When a lot of people, including us, were doubting you in that Oklahoma first-round playoff game, you proved us and everyone else wrong by being really good against the blitz. Can you do it again against this Indiana defense? Because if you can't, I don't see a world where Alabama can win this game.
Ty Simpson, when things get hot, right, when he has to deal with all these blitzes, is very, very good. Think about the two big throws to Lottie Brooks, okay, the two big corner throws to Lottie Brooks when he got those one-on-one matchups. One was the corner that jump-started the first touchdown drive, and the other was his second touchdown of the night in the second half. He's very good at isolating one-on-one matchups, but Indiana runs as much zone coverage as any team. I don't remember if it's number one, if they're the most, but they run as much zone coverage as any team in the country. They're going to be zone blitzes, and the way that they responded was starting to flood things on the stronger side of the formation. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how much more depth in these hots, right, against these blitzes, do Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb and Ty Simpson have in this offense. I liked the adjustments that were made as the game went on against Oklahoma, but got to keep in mind, you also can't go 3 and out on your first 3 drives either in this game and fall behind 17-0 because you won't come back on this team. They have to be prepared for it early. And I just want to throw some numbers out here with these 3 linebackers, Elijah Hardy, Isaiah Jones, Aiden Fisher, okay? Number one, they've all rushed the passer at least 50 times this year. You ready for this? They've combined, those 3 linebackers, mind you, they've combined for 56 pressures and 17 sacks this year, the linebackers. So they're coming from, and it's all 3 of them, not just one of them, right? It's not like, when we talk about Ohio State, and it's like, hey, keep an eye on Arvell Reese. It can be any of them at any given time with a whole lot of rotation behind it. Same thing we talked about, only with a jacked up pass rush. Ty Simpson, you want to prove you're an NFL processor? Here's the field to do it on.
Absolutely. All right, Dalton, what should be the best quarterback matchup that we get in the quarterfinals? Maybe 2 first-round quarterbacks in Mendoza and Ty Simpson. Who will lead their team to victory, move on to the semifinals?
I think the first thing that Curt Cignetti needs to tell his team, even his quarterback, is as long as we don't turn the ball over, we should be okay. Just do not give this team, this Alabama team that has ridden the high of so many heroic turnovers. Some of the timeliest turnovers I've ever seen in my life, like the pick 6 against John Mateer last week.
Yeah.
First thing, take care of the football. If Indiana takes care of the football, they're going to win this game because they are the better team. They're the more well-rounded team, and I do think this is the game where Alabama being so one-dimensional. Because, I mean, is there a world where they run for 100 yards, 120 yards in this game?
I don't see it.
I mean, they ran for 63 last week. They've been struggling so badly to run the football the second half of the year. And at that point, against this defense, you're asking Ty Simpson to be perfect. Last week wasn't even perfect. Last week was very good once he got a rhythm. You don't have, against this Indiana defense, you don't have the time to spare to be very good for 2/3 of the game. You need 60 minutes of perfect. If you don't have a run game against this Indiana team, we saw that against Ohio State, right? Ohio State couldn't run the ball. They were asking Sayin to be perfect. He was solid, not perfect. They lost. Same problem here. Indiana 28, Alabama 20.
I have it Indiana 27-17. I think ultimately this game could come down to which quarterback carries the team to victory. I think it's that simple, honestly, because I think Alabama's run D will play good enough against Indiana's run game. It's really just going to come down to the quarterbacks. And I think Mendoza, I trust him a little bit more right now. I think Indiana's going to win this ball game. I'm going to side with the Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza over the inconsistent quarterback that we've had in Ty Simpson this year. It should still be a really fun ball game, but I think there'll be too much pressure on Ty Simpson in that game. Where I think Indiana, they could get enough out of the run game to help out Fernando Mendoza. I like Indiana's more well-rounded defense too, I think, than Alabama's too. I'm going to give Indiana the win 27-17.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.